Sushruta for NEET is now available on the Google Play Store. Try it out for free.
So good morning, students. So today we are going to start a new chapter, that is hydrogen. So in this chapter, as you know, we will be studying about the hydrogen and the compounds of hydrogens, and basically how hydrogen reacts to form certain compounds, and what are the physical properties of hydrogen, some isotopic formation of hydrogen, and the percentage how it is found in the nature. And whenever it comes to the hydrogen, what we know first of all is it is the structure of water that we remember, and that we know water consists of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen is a very important constituent there. And so similarly, and water, we know how important it is for our survival, and most of the things that ocean that they are uh, full, full with the water. Other things, then when we talk about the sustenance of life on the earth, we also talk about the solar energy. And the solar energy, what we know, it is because of the fusion. That fusion happens between two hydrogen nuclei. When they combine, they form helium nuclei, and during the course some mass loss happens, and that is what is created into the energy, or transformed into the energy, heat energy. And that energy that comes here, that electromagnetic radiation, in the form of electromagnetic radiation, and that we see, that we find here. And because of that, everything, all the energy, or all other forms of energy that we see on the earth. And so because of that also, we know the life is on the earth, and the photosynthesis, many other reactions that is required. And the basic reason for that is the chemical, not nuclear reaction that happens on the sun. And that nuclear reaction means nuclei combines, or nuclei even divide, fission or fusion, whatever these kind of things happens, that is called the nuclear reactions. And in the chemical reactions, nuclei doesn't take part, but in the nuclear reactions, nuclei take part in the reaction. So the hydrogen has simplest atomic structure. Whenever, if you remember that periodic table, what we see, hydrogen, which is all, it is the first element of the periodic table. And being the first element of the periodic table, it is also the simplest element of the periodic table. Simplest element means that it is only made up of one nucleus, and one nucleus contains, anyway, all the nuclei made up of only one nucleus. The thing is, this nucleus of hydrogen contain only one proton. It doesn't have any neutron. And otherwise, whenever we talk about the atomic structure of any other element other than hydrogen, where we talk that neutrons and protons, they reside inside the nucleus. However, in the case of hydrogen, there is no existence of a neutron in the hydrogen. There are other isotopes of hydrogen where neutrons also are also present, one or two that we will see, and some artificial hydrogen isotopes are also there where we see even more number of protons, so neutrons. But there is no neutron in the hydrogen usually, which has the highest percentage. So the hydrogen has the simplest atomic structure among all the elements, which contains only one electron and one proton. Its most abundant isotope. So anyway, hydrogen that we talk about when we call hydrogen, it is one of the isotope of hydrogen element, if you want to talk in as a whole. There are other isotopes. The most famous isotopes of hydrogen are the other are deuterium and tritium. A deuterium, it contains one in its nucleus one proton and one neutron, and tritium is one proton and two neutrons. There are also, as I said, there are also some isotopes of hydrogen which are artificial, which are man-made, and though they contains more number of neutrons. Anyway, but they are not stable. Even tritium is not stable. Nucleus of deuterium is stable and it is not radioactive. If some nucleus is not stable, it means it is a radioactive. And radioactivity, as you might have heard or might have read earlier, and radioactivity is a nuclear reaction. So hydrogen exists in diatomic form in nature, and diatomic form means what? Two atoms of hydrogen, they combine together like two atoms, one hydrogen and one hydrogen atom that you see here, two hydrogen atoms. These hydrogen atoms do not have any separate or independent existence. They are not stable as a single atom, single light entity. So two hydrogen atoms, they combine through chemical bond to form hydrogen molecule. And the elemental hydrogen that we talk about is H2 molecule. So there are many H2 molecules that exist in it. It means what we say, it is a hydrogen. So hydrogen exists in nature in the diatomic form, and it is called dihydrogen. That is why we call dihydrogen. And also the element as which is also the elemental form of hydrogen. This is what I have said. Hydrogen is the lightest and most abundant chemical element in universe. Lightest means all the elements that you know in the periodic table. If you see, it is lightest. Why it is lightest? So you know it contains only one proton. There is no neutron in it. And not only neutron, only one proton. And but we know, and one electron. And electron's mass is very less. It is very light as compared to the mass of proton or neutron. And having only one proton, it is lightest element. And even the deuterium, the next highest is the deuterium, that is the isotope of hydrogen itself. So other element that if we talk about the helium's nucleus contains two protons and two neutrons. So mass number of helium is 4 and mass number of hydrogen is only 1. So that is why it is the lightest element in the universe. And not only it is not only the lightest element, it is also the most abundant chemical element in the universe. As I said, in the sun, the nucleus of the sun, there's the hydrogen gas, and these hydrogen molecules, they combine. So hydrogen nuclei, though the hydrogen molecules are there in the form of molecules, now the nuclei, they combine and they form helium or something like this. This kind of even higher isotope, higher elements that sometimes it might also be formed, because sometimes helium can also react with hydrogen or helium can also form heavier elements. So though that those percentage of those nuclear reactions are very less, but that is something. The most abundant reaction on the in the sun is hydrogen nuclei reacting to form helium. So anyway, so hydrogen, it can form helium or something other isotope or whatever those reactions, that is not part of our syllabus currently. So what we see that it is high, most abundant, and not only the sun, many stars or many even some of the planets, and the also contains this hydrogen gas. So hydrogen is basically most abundant element on in the universe, and it constitutes roughly 75% of elemental mass of the universe. So 75% means almost 3/4 mass of the universe is hydrogen. But it is still among rare elements on the earth, and rare elements in its free form, it is rare. Hydrogen in its free form, like the hydrogen gas, it is rare, and its percentage on Earth, the planet where we are living in, is only 0.15% by mass. However, in the combined form, hydrogen constitutes 15.4% of Earth's crust and the oceans. So in the combined form also include the living forms. So the living forms like us, we are also made, made up of chemical compounds. We are also chemicals. All the living forms that you can think of, you can see, you know, they are all chemicals. And all these chemicals, whether you talk about the hydrocarbons that is part of our body, or whether it is proteins, whether it is starch that we eat, everything contains hydrogen. So all the molecules that is there in our body, that is the biomolecules, they contain hydrogen. So the include the combined mass of hydrogen when we talk about it also constitute the biomass. So biomass, Earth's crust, you know, even the ocean, the water is there, and water also contains hydrogen. Even Earth's crust, many compounds that they are there, their hydrides are, they exist in the form of hydrides. So it means that, and overall its percentage, if you look at the elemental, all the combined form of hydrogen, it contains 15.4% of Earth. The name hydrogen is derived from the Greek hydro, meaning water, and hydro, what is that? We know hydro meaning, it means water, and the genus means creator. So something which creates water, something which forms water, something which is the basis of genesis for water is the called is the hydrogen. So that is how this name hydrogen comes from this Greek word hydro, again water, and genus means the creator. The creator of water is the hydrogen. So hydrogen has the simplest atomic structure among all the elements. In atomic form, it consists of only one proton and one neutron, one proton and one electron. That is what we know. Let us talk about the discovery of hydrogen. In 1671, Robert Boyle discovered and described the reactions between iron filings and dilute acids, which results in production of hydrogen gas. However, Robert Boyle was not knowing that this is a hydrogen gas. No one was knowing at that time. People have not recognized hydrogen gas. However, what they recognize, some gas is being produced which is inflammable. So when the iron filings, when even the, nowadays those reactions you can do in the laboratories, you use iron filings, even some iron, and you put it into the acids, and the hydrogen gas will be evolved. So in 1766, Henry Cavendish first recognized hydrogen gas as a discrete substance by naming the gas from a metal acid reaction flammable air. So what he said, it is a flammable air. So acid and metal reactions, a gas is produced, and that gas he named, he recognized some flammable gas, he called the flammable air is being formed. So Cavendish speculated the flammable air was in fact identical to the hypothetical substance called phlogiston. So earlier, even the Greek and other literatures, what people there were some people were used to talk about some artificial, some hypothetical things that burns, some air which burns immediately. Though they were not knowing anything about that, and that name was phlogiston. So they were not knowing about phlogiston, nothing. There was no some the stories it contains this phlogiston. So this the Cavendish named that flammable air. He said it is similar to the phlogiston that is already there in the literature. People used to talk about. And further findings in 1781 proves that gas produces water when burned. So then 1781 people have also recognized that though this is a flammable gas, that is okay, means it burns. So then later on in 1781 people recognized that it burns, after burning it produces water. So in 1783, then Antony Lavoisier gave the name hydrogen, and the hydrogen, the word, the genesis that we have already seen, hydrogen plus genus. When he and Laplace reproduced Cavendish finding that water is produced when hydrogen is burned. So when they realized that water is being formed after the burning of hydrogen, so based on this thing, they said that it is genus of hydro. So means that it is creator of water. So the name hydrogen came. The position of hydrogen in the periodic table is, this is something when debatable topic, and people still talk about whether where should we keep hydrogen into the in the periodic table, and whether whatever the place that we have put hydrogen in is that place appropriate. Then why it is appropriate? Because these things, that all the periodic table is made on the certain logical basis, and those logical basis are something like that. So people, you still talk about what are those problems and what are the properties based on which hydrogen has been put somewhere. So that is what we are going to study. So the element in the periodic table are arranged according to their electronic configurations. This is what we know: electronic configuration, and based on the repetition of that electronic configuration, what we call the periodicity. When the same electronic configuration of outermost cell, when it is repeated, so what we call the periodicity is happening, and that periodicity is also somehow reflected in the chemical reactions or chemical properties, and a bit in the physical properties as well. Not bit, quite bit in the physical properties as well. So hydrogen has electronic configuration 1s1. This we know, the very simple thing, because hydrogen has only one electron, and one electron that will go into only the 1s subcell or 1s subcell. So the first cell itself, and first cell contains only one subcell, and there is one S subcell, and this 1s subcell will have the only electron that is present in the nucleus of hydrogen. So therefore, hydrogen is the first element in the periodic table. So based on that, what people will do, this is only one, this has only one electron. This is the simplest electronic configuration. This is the first element of the periodic table. Anyway, first element of the periodic table. So anyway, so where is periodic table? If you look, where first element, whether we should keep it initially, some give some other group, another period, what is that? So anyway, so however, its placement in the periodic table is debatable. Like alkali, why it is debatable? Because hydrogen has properties based on this electronic configuration. What we see, hydrogen has one extra electron. It can easily lose its electron and give to some other element. However, what other thing that we look at, it also lacks one electron. And if you provide one extra electron to it, it will gain the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas, and that is helium. So it has one extra electron to gain the electronic configuration of something, and means there is no electron in this. So some make cation like lithium or the alkali metals, and monocation like alkali metals, or to gain one electron to form hydride, which is which electronic configuration is similar to the halogen or halides. So like alkali metals, so based on this, it also has certain chemical and properties, similarity, some properties, some of its properties are similar to the alkali metals, some of its properties are also like that of halogens. So because of that, there is some debate, some confusion that is always there, and that will still be there. So like alkali metals, uh, hydrogen's outermost shell electronic configuration is NH1. So alkali metals, we know even the lithium. When we talk about lithium, it is 2s2, sorry, 1s2, 2s1. 1s2, 2s1. Lithium, then sodium, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. So hydrogen is 1s1. So 1 base S1, 2 S1, 3 S1, 4 S1. This is how the alkali metals, this group outermost electronic configuration comes. So its electronic configuration is similar to alkali metals, and that the 1, 2 or something, the cell number that we represent as N. So this might be the number of cells that exist in that element. So this NS1 is the electronic configuration of hydrogen, and which is similar to that of alkali metals. On the other hand, like halogens, hydrogen is short by one electron to the corresponding noble gas configuration, that is helium. And if you give one electron to hydrogen, it will get electronic configuration 1s2, and which is electronic configuration of helium. So thus it can donate one electron to form monocation. So hydrogen can donate one electron to form monocation, and monocation like alkali metals, they form Na plus, Li plus, Na plus, K plus, Rb plus, Cs plus, that we know, rubidium cation, cesium cation. So they are monocation. Monocation means there is only one positive charge on the ion. So single positive charge is a monocation. So loss of electron. So thus it can, anyway, this we have seen alkali, it forms monocation like alkali metals, and also it can also accept one electron to form monoanionic hydride like halogens. And hydride, no hydride, it is hydrides electronic configuration is 1s2, and that's electronic configuration is similar to the electronic configuration of helium, which is 1s2. It's not similar, exactly same. So loss of electron from hydrogen atom results in the nucleus, a nucleus of hydrogen, which is H plus, and the size of this H plus is 1.5 into 10 to the power minus 3 picometer. 10 to the power minus 3 picometer means it is around the femtometer size, and which is extremely small, and nothing but, and this H plus is nothing but proton. So what we have seen, hydrogen is one proton and one electron, and if you donate somehow, if hydrogen donates its electron to someone else, then what will be left? The left thing only will be the nucleus of hydrogen, and that nucleus of hydrogen has only one proton. So H plus is nothing but a proton. So this is extremely small as compared to normal atomic and ionic sizes of other elements, and which are atomic and ionic sizes of other elements, which ranges between 50 to 200 picometer. So 50 to 200 picometer, here it what it is in the order of 10 to the power minus 3. So it is less than 1,000th part of the 1 picometer. So that you can see how small it is, and because of its very small size. And why it is very small? Because it is simply a single particle, proton. Other elements also have proton, neutron, and some other electrons might also be there in the ion. But here it is only one proton, and because of that proton, so if you talk about this, the dimension or the radius of the hydrogen nucleus, it means you are talking about the radius of proton only, as this is a single particle. So as a consequence, H plus is very reactive and does not exist freely, because proton is a single particle, positive particle, very small size, so it is very reactive. and that is why it doesn't exist freely. And whenever we study hydrogen production of proton or H plus ion into the aqueous medium, there we also always talk about the hydronium ion, because this H plus, it will go to another water molecule, it will combine with the lone pair, means the water molecule will donate its lone pair to proton, and there will be H3O plus ion cation, that is called the hydronium ion. So like alkali metals, hydrogen forms oxides, halides, sulfides. So oxides of hydrogen, if someone talks about, water, what is oxide of hydrogen? Halides, we know HCl is halide of all the acids, HCl, HBr, HI, HF. They are all acids, they are hydrides, and these hydrides, they are similar. Halides, these halides are similar to the alkali metals. Hydrogen also forms sulfides like Na2S that you talk about, sodium sulfide, and similar to that, also hydrogen forms sulfide H2S, hydrogen sulfide gas that we know. Although it has, unlike alkali metals, very high ionization enthalpy, even though, what does it mean? Even though hydrogen has very high ionization enthalpy, means the energy to remove one electron from an element in the gaseous form, or gas, when the element is in the gaseous state. So that energy, that is called ionization energy. So ionization energy high means you need to provide more and more energy to remove that electron. So removing one electron from hydrogen is not as easy as that we see in the case of alkali metals, because for alkali metals ionization potential is very small, but ionization potential of hydrogen is higher. It is much higher than alkali metal. It is close to the halogens. So even though, despite that, hydrogen forms compounds with oxygen, halogen, and sulfurs like the alkali metals form, so that the oxides, halides, and sulfides. So in terms of ionization enthalpy, hydrogen resembles more with halogens. This is what we have just seen. So ionization enthalpy of lithium is 520 kilojoule per mole only, the experimental value, and that of fluorine, it is 1680 kilojoule per mole, and the hydrogen, it is 1312 kilojoule per mole. So fluorine is we know the electronegativity is very high for fluorine. It is very strongly most electronegative element in the periodic table. It will try to gain electron, not to donate electron or not to remove electron. So that is why even this, its ionization potential is this. So what we see, and ionization potential of hydrogen is this, and ionization potential of other alkali, as other halides, are lower than this 1680 kilojoule per mole, and that hydrogen comes in that range, in that of halides, and the lithium, you see, it is only 520 kilojoule per mole. So ionization potential of hydrogen is more closer to the ionization potential of halogens and not closer to the alkali metals. And even though it can form oxide, halides, or sulfides, and in those oxide, halides, and sulfides, if you remember, the oxidation number of hydrogen is +1. So +1 means what? It behaves like the alkali metals which are actually cationic, monocationic. So because of very high ionization enthalpy, hydrogen does not possess metallic characteristics under normal conditions. So if you see this value, this ionization potential is very high, it means removal of electron is very difficult from hydrogen, and if it is very difficult to remove electron from an element, it means that element is not a metal, it is a non-metal. And so because of very high ionization enthalpy, hydrogen is a non-metal, it is not a metal. And it means it doesn't have electropositive character. Electropositive character means tendency to donate electrons, to remove electrons in certain chemical reactions. So because of so like halogens, other things like halogens, hydrogen forms a diatomic molecule, and that is what we know. Fluorine, it forms a diatomic molecule F2, chlorine forms diatomic molecule Cl2, bromine forms diatomic molecule Br2, iodine forms I2. So all the halogens, like halogens, that they form diatomic molecules. Hydrogen also has exists as a diatomic molecule. This is what we have seen in the first slide. However, its reactivity is very low as compared to the halogen, but its reactivity of hydrogen is very low, much low in comparison to the halogens, not about the fluorine. And why its reactivity is low? Fluorine is highly reactive. So why its reactivity is low, that we will see. This is mostly because all the halogens, they form single bond. So FF single bond is there, Cl single bond is there, Br single bond is there, I single bond is there. Similarly, hydrogen single bond is there. And this single bond between two hydrogen atoms is much stronger. Its bond dissociation energy is very high as comparison to the those of halogens. And since bond dissociation energy is very high, so if hydrogen has to react, it's a bond, that hydrogen single bond should be broken first. And to break that, you need to provide more energy, and you need to provide more energy for a reaction to happen. It means that chemical compound is not much reactive. And why this hydrogen hydrogen bond is very strong? This is because hydrogen doesn't have any lone pair in its structure. So all the both the hydrogen atoms has only one electron, and both the electrons are now involved in sharing. There is no lone pair, and so no lone pair, there is no repulsion. However, in case of fluorine, if you remember the structure F2, there is fluorine single bond, and other than that single bond, and where one electron is shared by each fluorine atom, there are three lone pairs on each fluorine atom. And these lone pairs, they are electrons. The electrons, they repel each other, same charge particles. And because of that repulsion, that bond is elongated. And if the bond is elongated, you know the bond dissociation energy and even bond energy is lower. So that is why hydrogen is less reactive as compared to the halogens. Hydrogen, therefore, however, we see whatever we have seen. So hydrogen has resemblance to alkali metals like NH1 electronic configuration, as well as with the halogens, like it accepts one electron and can get the electronic configuration of halides. So that is why, in spite its resemblance, however, other thing is, in spite its resemblance with both alkali metals as well as halogens, hydrogen also differs from them, and there are some differences, and hydrogen differs from them as well. Thus, hydrogen has a unique properties and is placed separately in the periodic table. So it is placed separately. Earlier, people have put it also in the first group and also in the 17th group, means along with the halogens. Some books still they follow that tradition, but now people say that since it has a very unique properties, its properties do not resemble any single period or a single group. So that is why period anyway a single group. So you cannot put it in a single group. And if you cannot put it in a single group, if you cannot provide it as a unique place, so it is better to keep it aside. And that is why hydrogen is now placed separately in the periodic table. Coming to the isotopes of hydrogen, that we know the most famous isotopes, and actually the naturally most famous means the naturally occurring isotopes. There are three naturally occurring isotopes mostly of hydrogen. One is the hydrogen that we talk, the protium, other way protium, because it has only one proton and one electron, so it is also called protium. So protium is H1. One is the mass number of the hydrogen. So H1 means it is the protium, and H2 means the mass number is 2. Mass number is 2 means there is only one proton, and the next mass number has come from the presence of come due to the presence of neutron into the nucleus. And you cannot increase the protons, because we know as you increase the proton, the atomic number will change, and changing atomic number means you have changed the element. If you add one proton to the nucleus, if you say even why, how I know that if the mass number of hydrogen is 2, it is one proton and another particle is the neutron. So simply I can say, because if it was proton, if I add extra proton, then it will not be hydrogen, it will become helium. So if it is hydrogen, it means that there is only one proton, and the next particle that exists in the nucleus is nothing but neutron. And this is also called deuterium, and represented sometimes also represented as a D. And the third naturally occurring isotope of hydrogen is tritium. Tritium, that we represent H3, and H3 are also as capital T. And the tritium, as we know, it has one proton and two neutrons. because the mass number contains number of protons plus number of neutrons. The proton is one that we know for sure. So what is the 3 minus 1 is 2, which is the number of neutrons. So other highly unstable nuclei of hydrogen, that hydrogen 4 to hydrogen 7, 4, hydrogen 5, hydrogen 6, have also been synthesized in laboratories, but they do not have any natural existence. They are very unstable, radioactive. So we won't talk much about this isotopes. Herald Urey, he was awarded Nobel Prize for separating this deuterium from the deuterium, which is also called the heavy hydrogen. So deuterium H2 is also called the heavy hydrogen, and Herald Urey first time he separated this deuterium from the hydrogen sample and using simply physical methods. So because of that, he got Nobel Prize. I think he did this thing. He got in 1931, because of which he got the Nobel Prize. So if you look at the other properties, the hydrogen, which is a protium, only one proton. So when we talk about hydrogen, mostly we talk about this, is the most common hydrogen isotope, which with an abundance of more than 99.98%. So mostly why its abundance is 99.98%. It means if there are 10,000 atoms of hydrogen, so 9,998 atoms of will be of the protium. So this isotope. Only maximum the other isotope their existence will be out of 10,000, only 2 atoms will be of the other isotopes. So because the nucleus of this isotope consists of only a single proton, it is given the name protium as well. But this is also called protium. This was what I have discussed earlier. Now the deuterium, its relative abundance is only 0.0156%, and is found on the earth is 0.015%. Means you can see here 0.171 means 1.7 molecule out of 10,000 found on the earth, mostly in the form of Hd, and it is mostly formed in the form of Hd. It is not D2. Usually in nature it doesn't found in the nature as D2 molecule. It is mostly in the form of Hd molecule, where H is the protium and D is deuterium, and hydrogen that we talk H2 can exist as H2 as well. Deuterium in the universe is thought to have been produced at the time of the Big Bang, and when Big Bang happened, that you know, and has endured. And if you do not know, you might study it in your physics class, and there you will actually understand it better. So Big Bang, and it has endured. The deuterium has endured since then, and H2, and why it is endured, because that we know it is not radioactive. So the deuterium has been formed there, so it is still there. So hydrogen H2 or the deuterium is non-radioactive and do not have any toxicity as well. So water enriched in molecules that include deuterium instead of normal hydrogen is called heavy water. So as deuterium is called heavy hydrogen, so water consisting of deuterium is called heavy water. So deuterium is also a potential fuel for commercial nuclear fusion and acts as a moderator in nuclear reactors. So like hydrogen, as I have said, hydrogen molecules, they can go into the nuclear fusion reaction. So two nuclei fuse to form helium molecules. Similarly, the deuterium can also enter into that reaction, because deuterium is also a hydrogen. The elemental form is still a hydrogen, because it has only one proton and one electron. Other than that, one extra neutron is also there. Because of the presence of extra neutron, is though its mass has increased, it becomes heavier, but its chemical property is mostly same to that of the hydrogen or the protium. And that because of this heavy nature and less reactivity, it is also used as moderator. So whenever the hydrogen reacts, you see the reaction of hydrogen and the reaction is faster. So what will you do? You use deuterium there, and because of its heavy air nature and it is heavy, so the collision will be become slower. And the molecular collisions become slower. It means the reactivity will become slower. And if you use deuterium in place of hydrogen, and this is the one technique that people will also use in kinetic isotope effect, whether they, and this what is kinetic isotope effect, that is the term only you remember, rest of the things that we'll see later on, don't ever worry about this. So the term kinetic isotope effect that you should remember. And why it affects? Because if the hydrogen, instead of hydrogen, deuterium, if you use deuterium, and deuterium is heavy, so the reaction becomes slow, and how much slow it has become. So based on that, people also find out the mechanism of certain reaction, and those things that we'll see later on if it comes there. Then the third isotope, naturally occurring isotope, the tritium. And tritium, its existence, if you talk about, out of 10 to the power 18 molecules of hydrogen or atoms of hydrogen, only one atom of tritium will be there. And it contains one proton and two neutrons in its nucleus. It is radioactive, it's not a stable nucleus, it doesn't have a stable nucleus. It is radioactive and decaying into helium-3 and hydrogen-3, decaying helium-3. Helium-3, how will it decay? So what we see, if the beta particle emits from a nucleus, and during the emission of beta particles, one neutron gets converted into one proton and one beta particle. Beta particle is nothing but an electron. So one neutron, when it gets converted into one proton and one electron, so one electron, it goes out as a radiation that we see in the beta part form of beta particle, and that proton is still there in the nucleus, and the number of proton has increased, and number of proton has increased, it becomes 2. So the tritium H3 becomes helium H, helium-3. And helium-3, it becomes like here as I have shown, and the half life for this reaction is only 12.32 years. And 12.32 years means if you take certain mass of tritium, in that mass will become helium-3 in 12, half of that mass will become helium-3 in 12.32 years. Then to decay, and the decay of further half means that another 25%, it will take another 12.32 years. And how it, what is the meaning of half life, that you will see if the first order reaction that we will see later on. And the radioactivity, when we talk about radioactivity, is anyway the first order reaction, but this thing, the decay and the beta particle, will see in more details in radioactivity. So it is so radioactive, but this tritium is so radioactive that it can be used in luminous paints, making it useful in watches and so on. So in the watches and other things, it is so luminous that people use it. So some physical properties of hydrogen, deuterium, tritium. If you look at the relative abundance of hydrogen is 99.985%. Deuterium is 0.0156%, and tritium is 10 to the power minus 15. Relative atomic mass, the exact mass, if you look at, this is, remember the mass number, that is easy to remember. So for hydrogen is 1, deuterium it is 2, and tritium it is 3. Melting point, as you is what you expect. If the mass increases, mass of certain atom or the element is increasing, what does it mean? To make it gaseous, or to provide, or to make it fluid, or to have some fluidity in it, you need to provide more energy if mass is more. And that is what you see, even without doing what you can see, the melting point of hydrogen should be least, and then the deuterium, and then the tritium it should be, and this is what we find. So tritium, its the melting point is highest, then deuterium, and then the hydrogen. Hydrogen is least. Similar trend we should also find for the boiling point as well, because boiling point is nothing but converting certain liquid into the gas at the temperature at which this conversion happens is the boiling point. So the boiling point, if you look at the boiling point of hydrogen is least, and then the deuterium comes, and then the tritium. Why it is? Because the tritium is heaviest among them. So similarly, density, if you look at the density, if the mass is more, the density should be more, because what is density? Density is mass divided by volume. So mass divided by volume, if you talk about, the mass is more, so density should also increase. Similarly, so the density of hydrogen is least, then comes the deuterium, and then the tritium. So similarly, other properties you can talk about, the enthalpy of vaporization. So vaporization, if you want to vaporize it, you need to provide more energy if the nuclei of the molecule or the atom is heavier. So for deuterium and hydrogen, the experimental value is provided, and that you see it is more for deuterium because of its heavier mass. Similarly, based on those things, you can see these values. It is not important for you to remember these values. It is only thing is you should know the trend, and the trend you can see why this trend exists. This is because of the difference in the mass. And the intermolecular distance, if you talk about it, it will be the same whether it is hydrogen or deuterium. Why it is same? Because they have the nucleus. A nucleus, the same atomic number of proton is there because of same number of proton and the electron if it is there, and the radius exists because of the attraction of proton and electron. Even though the because of neutron, the nucleus volume doesn't increase. Volume is also almost the same, and the volume of hydrogen and deuterium is almost same. That because volume is same, so the atomic radius will also be the same. So internuclear distance, because the hydrogen and deuterium molecule, if you talk about it, is H2 HH bond, and deuterium DD bond will be there, and that bond, that length will also be the same because the volume is same, atomic radius is same for both of them. Now, the preparation of dihydrogen, when we talk about the preparation, how do we prepare hydrogen? So, there are two things that we talk about whenever we talk about the preparation of a chemical compound or any chemical species. One thing is how do we prepare that in laboratory? And laboratory, sometimes we prepare certain compound or certain chemicals in situ preparation that we look at. So then the laboratories, what we do earlier, I think I have explained it even in the when I was discussing redox chemistry. So if you react certain metals with the acid, when certain metals react with the acid, what they do, the hydrogen gas evolves. And this the reaction that we have seen in the when we have studied the redox types of redox reaction. And one example that we can see here is that when the zinc metal, it reacts with the hydrochloric acid, the hydrogen gas is produced, and the zinc metal now it gets oxidized to zinc ion, zinc 2 plus ion. Hydrogen can also be prepared by reaction of zinc with aqueous alkali, and in the presence of aqueous alkali means NaOH, solution of aqueous solution of NaOH. One example, alkali is NaOH. So zinc plus 2 NaOH, this is a balanced reaction. What we see, the sodium zincate plus hydrogen. So sodium zincate, oh sorry, this should be here. This the name of this compound is sodium zincate. Somehow I made mistake. I kept here below the arrow. So this is sodium zincate. So zinc plus NaOH, when they react, both zinc react with the NaOH means the alkali, aqueous alkali, it forms sodium zincate and hydrogen gas is evolved. These are the two most famous methods that we use to produce hydrogen gas in the laboratory. However, commercial production of hydrogen, for them we resort to some other methods, and the one method that is electrolysis of acidified water using platinum electrodes. And so the acidified water means some acid you use, dilute acid, and the water is there, and electrolysis when you do, and electrolysis means you are lysing, you are breaking this hydrogen molecule in water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen gases. So this is a hydrogen gas and oxygen gas and a slightly acidic medium that we use in presence of platinum catalyst, and this is in these things we study in electrochemistry. This is that kind of reaction, electrochemical reaction, and so we need to provide electricity to break these things. One way to produce hydrogen, this is why we use, because water is abundant on the earth and that we can use very easily. The high purity, that is more than 99.9% of dihydrogen, is obtained by electrolyzing warm aqueous barium hydroxide solution between nickel electrodes. Again, this is again the electrochemical reaction. This is what we studied. So it is obtained as a byproduct in the hydrogen is also obtained as a byproduct in the manufacture of sodium hydroxide and chlorine by the electrolysis of brine solution. Brine solution is the water containing salt. So if the water is there, in the water, very strong solution of salt. A very strong solution of salt means the salt existence of salt is very high, very concentrated solution. So in other way, you can say water containing salt. It's called the brine solution. So when the brine solution is the Cl minus will be there because it is part of the salt, and the Na plus is also the part of that, and the water is there, and then this if you perform electrolysis to the brine solution, the chlorine gas will be formed. The chlorine gas means what is happening to chlorine? Chlorine is being oxidized. You can see here chlorine is -1 oxidation number of chlorine is -1 because it is monoanionic, and monoanionic means the one anionic charge is here, one negative charge on chlorine, oxidation number -1, and the chlorine gas oxidation number is 0. So 0 is a greater number than -1, and that means the oxidation of chloride is happening here. So oxidation of chloride is happening. The oxidation always happens at anode. So this thing you can see this reaction was happening at anode. And Na plus doesn't have no reaction. We don't see any reaction for Na plus here in this case. What we see the reaction, the water also react, and here water forms a hydrogen, and this reaction happens at the cathode. So water, it is splits into two parts, and it splits to give hydrogen and hydroxyl ions. Hydroxyl ions means OH minus ions. So this is one way to prepare hydrogen as well. So water, another thing is water spontaneously dissociates at 25,000 degrees centigrade. So even if you heat water at up to 2500 degrees centigrade, and then it will also spontaneously split to give hydrogen and oxygen. And though but providing this heat, you know how much energy you need to provide. But this occurs at, so what is very high temperature, unusual process, people, piping and equipment, so catalysts are required. So for this we need catalyst, and this catalyst, when we talk about the water splitting catalyst, we are also talking about whenever people talk about running cars using water, it means you want to, because you see water splits to give hydrogen and oxygen at very high temperature, and to keep this, provide this high temperature, you need to provide energy, and that energy is less than the energy that you will get after burning the hydrogen. So this is not efficient method. So what people do, where you can use a catalyst, a chemical compound or chemical species, and if that chemical compound, what does it do? It fastens the reaction. Though whatever the chemical compounds, the catalyst that till now we have prepared, they are not very efficient. So still the progress is happening in that direction. People are still working on the water splitting reactions. The current research are still going rigorously in the water splitting. And why? Because the splitting of water happens at very high temperature. High temperature means whenever certain reaction is happening at very high temperature, it means that there is a very high barrier for this reaction. And if this reaction has a very high barrier, so to make the molecules to collide faster and faster with a very high energy, so that if certain energy of the collision will have certain energy to surpass that barrier. Another way is using catalyst. What do we do? Using catalyst, you decrease the barrier height. And if you decrease the barrier height, the reaction will easily happen even at the room temperature. That is why we need a efficient catalyst for splitting water, and that is still that we are working on. So reaction of steam on hydrocarbons of coke at high temperature in the presence of catalyst gives hydrogen as well. So this is the general formula of hydrocarbon, that are alkanes, you can say more appropriately. Alkenes are also hydrocarbons. They are also made up of only carbon and hydrogen. Alkynes are also hydrocarbon if there is no other heteroatom other than carbon and hydrogen. So here, if you look at the example of alkanes, alkenes also do the same reaction. The example that we have taken is alkane here. So this is alkane, CnH2n plus 2. The example is methane that we see here. Ethane, propane, butane, these kind of chemical compounds are alkanes. So when alkane reacts with the water in H2O, just this thing we have put to balance this reaction, to have certain stoichiometric, to obtain the stoichiometric coefficients as well. So this gives NCO, N molecules of carbon monoxide plus 2N plus 1 molecules of hydrogen, and 2N plus 1 molecules of hydrogen. How 2N plus 1? That you can see here, 2N plus 2 hydrogen, 2N plus 2 hydrogen. Atoms means N plus 1 hydrogen molecule, and N hydrogen molecule is here. So this is how you get 2N plus 1. N plus 1 and plus N. It becomes 2N plus 1 hydrogen. And CO, that you see NC and NO. And if the C and O combines, it will become NCO. The example is CH4. CH4 plus water gaseous. Gas means that it is steam. And when we do this reaction at 1270 Kelvin, it is also very high temperature in the presence of nickel catalyst, that we obtain carbon monoxide plus hydrogen. And you can see even in the presence of certain catalyst nickel, we need to provide certain energy. Though this energy, this barrier has the energy that we provide is decreased, this reaction is happening only at 70 Kelvin, but still you can see it is a very high temperature. So this is also not an efficient catalyst, and that is why we need to work on that area even more. So the mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen that we obtain here is called water gas. You should remember this water gas, the chemical formula of water gas. It is carbon plus hydrogen. It is a mixture of carbon and hydrogen, sorry, carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Carbon monoxide here, I made a mistake. Carbon monoxide gas and hydrogen gas mixture is water gas. As this mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen is used for synthesis of methanol, so industrially people also use this carbon mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen to produce the methanol. This is a very old method, industrial process, and a number of hydrocarbons people also form other than methanol, and it is also called the synthesis gas. So that is why this gas, the water gas mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen, is also called the synthesis gas or syn gas. Syn gas, SYN gas that you know. Nowadays, syn gas is produced by the sewage, and you might have read recently some kind of thing, some news that some minister claimed that one can also produce that gas, the domestic that we use for the as a fuel in the domestic supply from the sewage. That the thing that people were talking about to use the obtain hydrogen from the sewage. Although this method is still, though it is there, but it is not very efficient. People are still working on that area, but the methods are already there. People know this thing. So this is sewage from the sewage sawdust. So if you cut an wood using a saw, so some churning some small particles of the dust that you see of the wood, that is the sawdust. From that also you can produce hydrogen gas, scrap wood, newspapers. Why? Even if those things that if you look at it is mostly the starch, and mostly a starch, if you know it is cellulose, and cellulose has carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So you can get hydrogen from there as well. It contains hydrogen, it's the biomass. So the process of producing syn gas from coal is called coal gasification. So you can also produce the syn gas, CO plus hydrogen, from coal, and this is one method that we use in India because we have coal. We do not have much petroleum, but we do have coal, so that we use this method. And because of this method, to obtain hydrogen, some energy, and other things, we also producing making some pollutions because CO under the burning, other things are also being produced when you burn coal. The production of dihydrogen can be increased by reacting carbon monoxide of syn gas mixtures with steam in the presence of iron chromate as a catalyst. So carbon monoxide is from the syn gas. You can also think hydrogen here. So syn gas of carbon monoxide that when we talk. So what we get, if you react hydrogen, so you get CO2 plus H2. So what we are doing here, we are oxidizing carbon monoxide in presence of water. So water is oxidizing carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide, and in this process water is reduced to hydrogen. So how it is oxidizing? So one thing you can see, this oxidation number of carbon monoxide is +2 because oxygen is oxide, and this oxidation number is -2, so that of carbon will be +2. So that is why this is the neutral molecule. So +2 because of carbon, -2 because of oxygen. So oxidation number of carbon is +2, and carbon dioxide it is +4 because 2 oxygen is bound to carbon, and both oxygen molecules are combined to carbon with double bonds, and so there is +4 charge on carbon. So oxidation number of carbon dioxide is +4. So carbon has from +2 to +4 means this is oxidation, and the water reduces. Why water reduces? Water reduces because water hydrogen oxidation number of hydrogen in water is +1, and here it is 0. So +1 to 0, it means the reduction, the decrease in the oxidation number happens. The reduction in the oxidation number of hydrogen happens. So this is a reduction. So though water is reduced, but it is oxidizing carbon monoxide. This is called the water gas shift reaction. So this reaction is called the water gas shift reaction. So what is water gas shift reaction? The formation of carbon dioxide and hydrogen from carbon monoxide and steam. And this reaction happens in 673 Kelvin. Even this is also at very high temperature. This reaction doesn't happen at room temperature, and we also need catalyst for that. Presently, about 77% of industrial dihydrogen or the hydrogen is produced from petrochemicals that you know, petroleum, and 18% from coal, and the coal that India mostly uses, 14% of electrolysis of aqueous solution, and 1% from other sources. So mostly still what we see that we still use fossil fuels for the production of hydrogen, because 77% plus 18%. You can see here 70, it's 87 plus 8, it is 95% that we contain. This hydrogen production is for production of hydrogen, 95% production of hydrogen, we are still dependent on the petroleum products of the fossil fuels, mostly fossil fuels. And petroleum, it is 77%, and the coal, it comes to 18%. And coal and petroleum, even the gases, they all call the fossil fuels. The properties of hydrogen, when we talk the physical properties, hydrogen is a colorless, odorless, tasteless, combustible gas. Combustible gas, we know it is tasteless, odorless, and colorless gas. It is lighter than air and insoluble in water. Why it is lighter than air? Because when we talk about lighter than air, air mostly contains nitrogen and then oxygen. And you know, oxygen is around 20%, more than little 20%. Oxygen is around 78%. So mostly of air contains nitrogen and oxygen, and they are much heavier than hydrogen. And why it is heavy? Even hydrogen is the lightest element that you know, so it will certainly be lighter than the air. The chemical properties, so hydrogen bond dissociation enthalpy is highest for a single bond between two atoms of any element. For halogens, the comparison I have said, it is not for only halogens. Any element, if you talk about single bond, hydrogen is the strongest has the strongest single bond. This is because the hydrogen doesn't have any lone pair because of that thing, and there will be no repulsion between lone pairs, so no elongation of the single bond. So this hydrogen bond dissociation enthalpy is highest for the single bonds. Not, you can not compare single bond with the double bond, because double bond, formation of double bond, more energy is released, so ionization, bond dissociation enthalpy will be more for that, and thus it is relatively inert at room temperature. So hydrogen is relatively inert at room temperature because of very high bond dissociation energy. Why? Because if you want to make certain compound with the hydrogen, you have to first break this hydrogen bond, and hydrogen bond breaking is not that easy process because of the very high bond dissociation energy. And because of this, the dissociation of dihydrogen into its atom is only 0.081%, around 200 Kelvin. So when the hydrogen gas is there, you heat it to 2000 Kelvin. So 2000 Kelvin, that you know, very high temperature, only 0.081% of hydrogen will be dissociated. Hydrogen molecule will be dissociated. And this increases to 95.5% at 5000 Kelvin. For 5000 Kelvin, you can imagine how high temperature it is. Thus, the atomic hydrogen is produced at a high temperature in an inert arc or under ultraviolet radiation. So what people do, then use radiation to break the hydrogen bond to make a hydrogen atom from the hydrogen molecule. So since atomic orbitals of hydrogen atom is incomplete with 1s electronic configuration, so 1s electronic configuration that we have seen for the hydrogen atom, it does combine with almost all the elements. So it has only one N1s. The simplest thing, it can accept electron, it can donate electron, it can also share its electron. So that is why hydrogen forms compound using all the three methods: by giving electron, by taking electron, by sharing electrons. And that is why very high abundance of hydrogen compounds that we see in the universe, and mostly on the earth that we see. So chemistry of dihydrogens, a reaction with halogens, hydrogen reacts with halogen to form this acid, this hydrofluoric acid, this is what we call. And this X could be the halogen, fluorine, bromine, and iodine. So while the reaction with fluorine occurs even in dark, so the reaction with fluorine is very fast, even in the dark it can happen. However, we require catalyst for the reaction with the iodine. So as we go from fluorine to down the group, so reactivity decreases. Reactivity of fluorine is highest, and it further decreases, and least is obtained for iodine. And to form hydrogen iodide, we need a certain catalyst. It doesn't happen only It doesn't happen automatically at the room temperature. So reaction with dihydrogen, when we dihydrogen, we know, sorry, dioxygen, dihydrogen reaction of dihydrogen we are looking at with the dioxygen. So for that we know it will produce water, and this is the combustion of hydrogen. And this is a combustion of hydrogen, that it will, the very high heat is released, because this reaction is exothermic reaction. This is the nothing but a combustion reaction, and we also need a catalyst for that. If we don't, if this reaction was so facile, if this reaction was not associated with any barrier, so we do not have any existence, we won't have any existence of free hydrogen on the earth, even in the slide or trace amount, because if the barrier is very low, oxygen is abundant in atmosphere, so all the hydrogen will be converted to water. But this, since this reaction is also associated with certain barriers, so we do see certain existence of hydrogen molecule or hydrogen free hydrogen gas on the earth. But this reaction is exothermic by minus 285.9 kilojoule per mole. Reaction with dinitrogen, this is very important reaction. This reaction is used in the for the production of fertilizers, particularly ammonia, that we use for the making urea, and the method is called the Haber-Bosch process. Hydrogen reacts with nitrogen at 673 Kelvin and 200 atmospheric pressure in the presence of iron catalyst to form ammonia. This reaction is also an exothermic reaction, and the exothermicity is minus 92.6 kilojoule per mole. Reaction with metals, when we talk about the, so hydrogen, it reacts with metals to form hydrides. So like alkali metals, and they react with metals at high temperature usually, and high temperature, because this reaction is again associated with the barrier. Why it is associated with the barrier? Because the bond dissociation energy of hydrogen is very high. Bond dissociation energy of hydrogen is high, means this, then there will be barrier, because you need to break the bond, and that is why we had certain barrier associated with all the reactions. This is what we have seen. Why? Because the reactions, any chemical reactions happens with the breaking of certain bonds, and then new bonds will be formed. And breaking the bond, means you need to provide certain energy, then only the bond will be broken, because during the formation of bond, energy is released, and that energy, whatever the bond that is released, that is formed, and then that energy, amount of energy is released, you need to provide that energy to break that bond, if that bond is to be broken in a certain chemical reaction. So that is why it happens at high temperature. At high temperature, collisions become faster. Why molecular collisions become faster? Because with the temperature we are providing extra heat, and with the heat, absorption of heat, the kinetic energy of molecules increases, so collision becomes faster, and the energy of collision is also increases. So reaction with metal ions and metal oxides, when we look at, so hydrogen reduces some of metal ions in aqueous solution or oxides of less reactive metals. So hydrogen, if you look at the electrochemical series, some elements are there, some metals are also there which reside below to hydrogen, and in that case, all those metals, if they are there in their aqueous solution or their salt solution, hydrogen can replace them and will go to the solution form itself, and thus it will reduce those metals. And the metals means it will reduce metals which are less reactive than hydrogen. And there are many metals which are more reactive than hydrogen, so the hydrogen cannot replace them. That hydrogen cannot reduce them, because they are very highly active and they are more electropositive than hydrogen itself. Now this reaction with the palladium 2 plus, we see in the aqueous solution, hydrogen reduces palladium to palladium solid, pure palladium metal plus 2H plus. So hydrogen YH2, Y molecules of hydrogen gas plus MXOY. This is the oxide of a metal, and this oxide of metal, it is also reduced. So hydrogen can also reduce certain metals from their oxide if that metal is less reactive. And so the metal is formed and the water molecule is being formed. So Y molecules of H2, and you see H2, Y molecules of H2 and Y atoms of O will form Y molecules of water. Reaction with organic compounds, when we talk about the hydrogen, there we always talk about the hydrogenation, mostly the hydrogenation. And hydrogenation, if we talk about the hydrogenation of what compounds? Is it of the olefin or is it of the certain carbonyl compounds? Because carbonyl compounds are also, there is also unsaturation. there is double bond between carbon and oxygen. So two things that we talk about, like the banaspati ghee that we talk, the dalda, other things, the banaspati ghee, what people do, the unsaturated hydrocarbon is there, the olefins are there, and if you hydrogenate that olefin, means the hydrogen will go and react with the olefin. Suppose the simple example that we take, or simplest example that we look into is the ethene gas, CH2 double bond CH2. So we can hydrogenate CH2 double bond CH2 with the one hydrogen molecule. So what will we get? We'll get ethane. So this is ethane. So banaspati ghee is also the unsaturation is there. You saturate it. This is the fatty acid, the long chain fatty acid, unsaturated fatty acid. If hydrogenate it, you will get the banaspati ghee, margarine, etc. Now for that, if we use chemical catalyst usually in those reactions. Similarly, the industrially very important process that we talk when, particularly in the drug area of drug discovery or drug form synthesis, and then the hydroformylation reaction. Hydroformylation reaction is a very important reaction nowadays, industrially very important reaction. So hydroformylation, what we use rhodium catalyst, rhodium carbonyl complex. Rhodium carbonyl complex, you will see what is this when the organometallic chemistry, when we will study, or the coordination chemistry, when we will study. So hydrogen is used there in the presence of catalyst. As I said, rhodium catalyst plus carbon monoxide, and this alkene is there with this alkene. So now alkene is being converted here. This alkene is being converted to the aldehyde. This is aldehyde. So this RCH double bond CH2. So what we are doing? We are increasing one carbon atom as well here. So one R, forget R could be anything. The same R is here as well. So 1 and 2 carbon atom is here. 1, 2, 3 carbon atoms are here. So one carbon that comes from the carbon monoxide, and the hydrogen that is added extra is from the hydrogen. So hydrogen is also used in the hydroformylation reactions to form asymmetric aldehydes for certain use in the industrial processes. Now the hydrogen can also be used to further reduce this aldehyde to form alcohol. And this aldehyde is how this kind of reactions, if you do not understand, don't worry about. We'll see it in much details with the clear structure, so it will be very clear. However, if you can remember this, that hydrogen can also reduce this aldehyde into the alcohol. So hydrogen reduces aldehyde to primary alcohol. Hydrogen can also reduce ketones to secondary alcohol. So secondary alcohol. So if ketone is being reduced, that is also an organic compound. So we find secondary alcohol. Primary, and this aldehyde, primary alcohol. This is primary alcohol. Primary alcohol means the OH group, the carbon that is attached to only one carbon. So carbon where oxygen is attached to only one carbon. So this is the primary alcohol. So these kind of reactions we see. So comment, I think time is over. I'll stop here. So sorry, I'm sorry, I've not seen the time. So rest of the things we'll see in our next class. I don't think most of the things here in this chapter, it is information. Even if certain things you do not understand, please let me know. And those things, it is information. I don't think there is much to understand.